A good Thursday morning to you. Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, which represents 802 Toyota, Twin City Subaru, and 802 Honda. They're all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. We're looking at a fair amount of flurries or fairly light snow that's mostly off to the south of us. It is covering a little bit of some areas of western portions of southern Vermont. Otherwise, a lot of Arctic air, and kind of illustrating the point, if we look at temperatures here, these are actual ambient air temperatures from the overnight period. You can see there's temperatures as cold as -40 in some parts just north of the Great Lakes. The coldest air is back, has been kind of working its way, and wind chills have also been fairly brutal. And you can see some of the wind chills here in the -50s over a wide area around Alberta, parts of Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and so forth. Some of that is trying to make a run at us, but it never really does. Looking at the climate reanalyzer, you can see where the cold 2-meter temperature anomalies are located. Some of that's made it all the way into Texas, and this eventually, a lot of this is going to head just about due sort of south-southeast, and even get into parts of Mexico and the western Gulf of Mexico. The coldest air, though, is back again in the upper Midwest, northern plains into the prairies of Canada, including British Columbia. So looking at the 850 hectopascal level, about a slice of the atmosphere, roughly about the top of Mount Mansfield, you can see this is valid this morning at about 7 o'clock this morning. This is the cold anomalous air, and this stuff is very, very cold, as you can see, in terms of anomalies. Now, some of that stretches east into northern New England, but note it's not nearly as cold, whereas we're running only about somewhere around 3, 4, 5 degrees above normal. Let's run the model. So today you can kind of see a little bit of that kind of makes it into some parts of Vermont. Notice that the high latitude blocking is really the controlling influence of this, with kind of a strip of conveyor belt of this very cold air. And like I was saying, it does get down into parts of northern Mexico. This is valid by the time we're looking at Friday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, and then a little bit of that tries to make a run again into Vermont. Never really does, and then a little bit of an anomalous warm spot here, a little flip side, begins to occur on Saturday night and into the day on Sunday. You can see that just goes a little bit to the south of us off the coast, so some good baroclinics going on, and that is a storm system that will probably deliver 1 to about locally 4 inches of light to almost moderate snowfall. And then slightly colder air follows that for Monday. And once we get into Monday afternoon, then that colder slice begins to moderate out. We get back into slightly warmer than normal conditions by the time we hit Tuesday. And then it doesn't really stay very long. A little piece of this begins to work on into the region. But you notice that how far south, even into the western side of Mexico, some of that colder air has slipped on down. More of a north-south than an east and west in this particular case, and this is due to the loss of sea ice up in the Arctic, making them a meridional type of jet stream. So looking at the incrementals here, we can see that one system working off to the south of us. This is later on today. High pressure begins to build in and set the stage for what should be Friday and Saturday, fairly nice conditions. Dry project weather, albeit on the cold side with that modified Arctic air kind of working in. And blustery at times. We do have a wind chill advisory in effect. That goes into effect basically midnight tonight. It'll last through about 10 a.m. Tomorrow. And it's for basically the northern 2/3 of Vermont, generally along and east of the Green Mountains. Now, that area of higher pressure is going to start to relax the winds a little bit once we get into the day on Friday and into Friday night. That center of area of higher pressure begins to push across into northern New England. But the main bulk of it is 1044 hectopascal. That's pretty significant. That's a cold dome of higher pressure, relatively quasi-stationary. Up until the time we get a little bit more of this sort of, I was talking kind of a north-south wind, meridional, and that northerly, southerly kind of take is going to start to produce a trough off to the western part of the United States. That opens the door for moisture coming northbound as we get into a little more of a ridge of higher pressure. And what that does is it sets the stage for the system that comes in on Sunday. You can kind of see where that goes. And then beyond that, it's really the system on Tuesday that really sets the stage, where a lot of jet stream energy begins to work with this area of low pressure, and the Gulf of Mexico is open for business. And these are temperatures that are warm enough for rain. So right now these are thunderstorms. Taking this along into Tuesday, you can see where that's headed, right into Vermont. And this is when I feel we have a little better chances of some impacts for utilities, for basically some wet snow, maybe some mixed precipitation types, and also some gradient winds. That'll be more or less an easterly wind, affecting mostly the central and southern Green Mountains western slopes. That system then pulls away on Wednesday just beyond the period. And this is the 3-hourly QPF of the GFS ensemble. And what it shows here is kind of the upticks here. This would be for basically Sunday and then Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. And what we're looking at here is the total amounts. Really, the GFS ensemble is really not onto it, I think, very well. But the total QPF looks like this. So we're talking about 0.6 of an inch, and the deterministic model was even less than that. Looking at the total amount of precipitable water, kind of gives you an idea here. Not a whole lot. We're talking a maximum 0.4 of an inch, so nothing in particularly heavy duty. The European is a little bit more after it and much more robust on the precip. Two different storm tracks. The first one really out of the Gulf of Mexico and into the southeast United States and off the coast. Far less and much more colder conditions. Always yield least amount of precipitation, and you can see that here. And then the west coast is seeing their mountainous terrains, generally Northern California and into the Pacific Northwest. 2-meter temperatures of the GEFS model, and what I want to show you here is about 850 hectopascals. The top of Mount Mansfield looks like this, well below the freezing mark, all snow. So we know this area is pretty cold, and we can see it here. Back to the climate reanalyzer, the 2-meter temperatures analysis, looking at just how cold it is. That's fairly significant, I would say. 42 degrees, averaging below these are anomalies. Meteorological output statistics for the next 5 days, you can see that it's minus 42 and minus 39 and so forth. And these particular areas seeing quite a bit of interesting weather. This coldest air mass, as we were showing you, stays to the west of us. As you get closer to Vermont, still significant, minus 6 to about minus, looks like minus 6, minus 9, minus 12. And then about 3 days later, about minus 6. So a little bit of a minor warm-up, the way things are shaping up. That's it from here. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.